Morning, everybody. Welcome to the latest Google Hangout. We'll talk about Google My Business today. Thank you very much for sending in your questions. I see there's some from you coming in already. So yes, I guess everybody has a lot of questions around this topic, including myself. Let me just start with a general note around Google My Business. I've actually asked this as a question as well. So why is Google My Business a focus for this month? Probably most of you, I have to say I'm very guilty of that, have kind of neglected Google Plus, and I think most people have kind of thought about it as an afterthought that Google is trying to enforce everybody to use, but actually it's not really important or relevant, and it didn't used to have a big impact on our ranking either. Which is why nobody's using it, and nobody really knows how this works and what the dynamic is of it. However, they have now included Google Plus into Google My Business, which I'll explain in a second as well. And together, this product is really important for the local free pack. As you know, Google search results are now being displayed in a different way than before, and the top 3 ranking listings are from Google Maps, which is connected to Google My Business, which means that this Google-owned product is now the most important place on the Google search results page. And the reason why we're now focusing on Google Plus and Google My Business is because the only way to be at the top of the search results is to rank well on Google My Business. So now we have to focus on optimizing that. The other thing that's worth mentioning is that Google have launched another product, which is Google Hotel Ads, which also feeds through from Google My Business. So now we have this hybrid of a paid and an organic solution on Google My Business listings, where we have to optimize the organic part in order to hopefully rank higher on Google Hotel Ads. If you have Google Hotel Ads questions, please refer to Katerina Affinidi, who's responsible for tactical campaigns. She will also tell you that we're testing currently Google Hotel Ads for everybody on a commission basis, but you'll hear more about that from her later. So yeah, the reason why Google My Business is a focus for this month is that it has become the single most important place to rank well on Google. What is Google My Business? So Google My Business is a place where you can manage your appearance on the web from a single account login. That's at least how Google sell it to you. From Google My Business, you can manage a number of products, including Google Plus, Google Places, Google Brand Pages, and you could also have, as a smaller business, you can have a Google Ad extension, so you can use AdWords Express, as well as a number of other products. So you have your one login, your one account, and you can manage your entire presence on the web, excluding your website, obviously. However, they offer you to do that as well. So you can see probably where Google is going with this. They are, at least in my opinion, moving towards a situation where they will own a lot more of your presence on the web, and I think the best recommendation what to do here to be future-proof is really to kind of work with them to comply with all the standards that they are asking for you, and to really use all the different opportunities to provide information. So when they ask you for information, do not just provide the mandatory information, but also the voluntary. The more information you provide, the better. We've seen this with Google Shopping previously, that if you had filled out any additional fields that were not required, but that were possible to fill out, that this would have a positive impact on your ranking and your performance. And later down the line, Google Shopping became a paid product as well, similar to what's happening here. And again, it would have helped your ranking if you were in that space from early on, before it became a paid product. So you kind of build up a history already. As you know, in Google AdWords, your history has an impact on your top ranking performance as well, whether you rank on 1, 2, or 3, and it's we expect this to be similar with Google Hotel Ads, just how people click on the click performance and the kind of user behavior kind of builds up history and tells Google something about the quality of your listing. High quality means that you rank higher. Sorry, this was done. Okay. Excuse me. So you're wondering if you've had Google Plus previously, or Google brand page, excuse me, or Google Places. So which place is the best to manage your listing? Because you have those different accounts and you can access it through different backends. So for Google Plus, you can manage this through Sprinkler as well. Contact Rihanna Mansella about it, please. Apart from that, you just manage the listing. I personally think that Google My Business is the best place. It's the one-stop shop, and I also expect that this will be the only product. So there are discrepancies between the different accounts at the moment. I think from Germany we've had a question that you can add more images through one account than the other. Moving down further, I think that Google will eliminate the discrepancies, go with the smallest common denominator, and only allow you to access it through My Business. So if you don't want to change much, I would recommend you use it through that. Let's take a question from somebody else. Hello, Claudia. Rules for account emails. At the moment, we have almost all our properties under starwoodicm@gmail.com. This means that we should stop using this and ask IT to create another Starwood address. So the reason I asked for a Starwood, for an email address that is at starwoodhotels.com is actually one that is because Google asked for that. They say that it's hard or impossible to verify a business with a Gmail address, and that instead you should use your domain. However, if you have already claimed and are managing all those properties under a Gmail address, then that's fine too. So this is the Google requirement from that side. And then the other side is that we want to, because you know those listings are very precious to us. Precious. No, but they're really important, and it's really hard and a real pain in the neck to claim a business if you have lost ownership of it. So we want to avoid losing any ownerships. So that's why we want to have central accounts if they're possible, and we definitely don't want those to be attached to a personal account. The reason being, nobody wants it to happen, of course, but if somebody leaves the business and forgets to hand over the account, then we are stuck without those accounts, and it's going to be really hard to claim back the accounts. So yeah, that's the two things. It's fine to continue using your Starwood ICM Gmail address because it is something that is not related to a person, and as long as Google are fine with you using a Gmail account, then we are too. Hi Sally, sorry I will get, so yes, you sent me a list of accounts that you have, and I need to cross-reference them, which I will get back to you, Sally. So that brings me to another point, which I think I have asked as a question as well. So Sally, what do you want me to do? So, as I've explained before, we would like to have, ideally, all accounts owned by a central account. The reason for that is twofold. One is, as I've explained, we don't want it to be related to a person because it's a real pain in the neck to claim the listings. The other reason is that under a central account, if you have a higher number of listings, it's easier to claim a new business. For example, we don't have to use the PIN verification, we can just bulk upload properties. If you have more than 10, I think, properties listed under your account, you can probably do the same. So that's not necessarily a benefit that you're missing out on with your ICM or whatever account. However, the larger you are, the more likely you are to get a contact person. And again, we're hoping that as this will probably become a paid product or will increase in importance to Google, that we will get an account manager for this, or at least have some kind of help. And that's something that you would benefit from being owned by the central account. So this leads me to what I want you to do. If you have not claimed any listings in your region or for the properties that you're responsible for, then for now there's nothing you need to do. For those properties, I will bulk upload your listings, and I will then let you know once that's done. So in some instances, it's still required to do a local verification. In those instances, I will contact you for help, but please wait to hear from me. If you already own venues in your area, or venues that you are responsible for, then I would ask you to transfer ownership, if it's possible, to our central email address. That's seo@starboardhotels.com. So I think that a lot of you will have a problem with that. If you have a problem with transferring ownership for whatever reason, then please let me know, contact me. But the minimum I would ask you to do is to add us as a manager, so that at least we have access. And if you have been a manager for more than 2 weeks, it would be easy to transfer ownership should that ever be required. So the minimum requirement is that for those listings that you have claimed already, that you transfer management. But please contact me first to discuss whether it's only management access that you can give for ownership. Another question from Claudia. For some months now, we have many locations with owner conflict and are not able to transfer ownership to SEO@starboardhotels.com. How should we proceed with these properties? Like Sally, it would be great if you could send me a list of those locations where you have the conflicts. It could be that actually the problem stems from us trying to claim ownership for those as well. If not, then we'll have to figure out a different way and find out who is claiming ownership. What might be helpful as well is to reach out to the hotels directly and see if they were trying to claim ownership for those too. If not, we'll have to look at it in detail. I also have to admit, I'm not a real expert in Google My Business yet, so please bear with me. Like I said, it's kind of been something that wasn't very important for a long time and has kind of popped up suddenly, but we are learning as we go. I'm also trying to work as closely as possible with Google, but as you know, there's no real support yet. So you kind of send out emails in the ether and just hope for a response. But I think that's why I said the more listings we have on an account, the more important we are and the more likely we are to get a reply from them. We're also trying to use account managers that are responsible for page who kind of get us an inside track in that, and hopefully we can improve that. So yeah, Claudia, if you could just send me a list of the properties that you have issues with, then we can look into it in detail. Thank you. Thanks, Sally. Hello, Ralph. Do we have a deadline for the transfer process of the personal accounts to impersonal accounts? Yes, as soon as possible. Originally, I asked for this to be completed by end of this month. However, I realized I was quite late in publishing the top 10 article. Normally, it takes about 2 weeks to be able to transfer ownership completely. So I would ask you to do this as soon as possible. And so if you start now, it should be done by hopefully middle of November. The entire optimization I would hope to be finalized by end of November. I know everybody's really busy, so I didn't ask for too much in the optimization part. Really, all I want is for ownership to be in an account that can be kept by Starwood, and that is not attached to a person. And the other thing is that we have completed all the information. It's really basics, but it goes a long way in terms of optimization. It's even though it sounds simple, and I know it's got a lot to do as well. So make sure that all the information is correct. Make sure that images are uploaded, and make sure that those images are localized, meaning that you have geotagged them, that you have added alternative descriptions and captions and so forth. And make sure that you have some excuse me, that you have some reviews, as well as that all the reviews are managed and responded to. And I think that will keep you busy quite a lot already. Yeah, so transfer ownership as soon as possible. Best thing is to go away from this call and do it right away if you can. Thank you. Hello, Alexandra. Remind me, how do we transfer? I'm afraid I don't have a listing with this account, so I can't screen share. But normally, if you go on the listing, so you click on the listing, and then it says managers, and then you can click +1. I will send you a link on how to do that later, or I'll publish it in the Google, in the Astra article. You will find a link on how to do that. I believe I have already published it. So yeah, so you go into the listing for this respective property, and then where it says managers, it's you can, or owners, you can add a manager. You simply click on it. But like I said, I will publish the information again on Astra. Question from Elise. Hey Joanna, even bulk uploading, we have several problems of duplicates, owner conflicts, etc. Would you possibly have a contact we can reach out to at Google? So far, no luck for us. I think it would make sense for us to clean up before handing to global. Well, yes, very good point. It would be appreciated if we can clean it up first. And actually, I'm going to touch on that again later. Unfortunately, that's the problem of the bulk uploads. The upload is easy, but then you still have to manually tidy up all the issues that you have afterwards. It could be, again, that the owner conflicts stem from us having tried to claim the same business. There's not really a coordination at the moment. Please tell the hotels to not claim the businesses, but let us do it. So that would be a first step of how we can do this. And also email me the list of the owner conflicts, and I can compare it with our lists, just so we can avoid that it was us. Lastly, the Google contact, I think I've already told you about that. Unfortunately, we have the same problem. You don't really know if anything comes back, but we just have to try our luck. And if it comes from a number of sites, hopefully, yeah, one day we'll get a response. We have used an email address previously where we used to get responses. However, I've given that one to Germany, and I don't think they have received a response on that account yet. As soon as I hear of a responsive person, I will let you know. Thank you, Alexandra, for pointing that out to Elise. So yes, as you know, send me a list, and we'll see. Alexandra, I'm sorry that you can't transfer ownership. I've explained it to you. Maybe we can take it offline and see. Last time I checked, it was possible the way I explained it, which was yesterday. But let's take it offline. Thank you. Thanks, Liz. Alexandra, you sent me a question regarding keywords. Sorry about that. I'll get back to you as soon as possible. Sorry if I'm slow in responding. If it's really important, it's probably easiest to just call me in urgent cases, as we've got quite a lot to do with regards to the IDP homepage relaunch, which means that everything else will be looked into after the blitz has happened, but I'm trying to respond to as much as possible. Katerina, please. Assuming we transfer ownership of all our verified listings to the central account, and then new duplicates appear, which happens now at least once per month, how would you handle them? Thanks for raising the question, and I'm sorry to hear that you have so many duplicates. So we would handle it the same way as previously. So I would give you management access. Global only want regional teams to have communications access, but actually I think it's easier if you keep management access. So I would probably ask you to handle the duplicates. We would still contact Google and just tell them about the duplicates in the same way as we've handled it before. So no change there. Hello, Mustafa. You have a question on LinkedIn. I think the LinkedIn page is handled by HR and it's a global page. You can send me the question and I'll forward it, but personally I would not know what to do about it. Yeah, if you send me an email about LinkedIn, I will pass it on to the respective person. Thank you. Alexandra again, we have two Google Plus pages. One is not verified and the other one is verified, but not shown since it's a duplicate. What do I do? Claim the global team as the new owner for unverified page, or first verify and then transfer. What to do with the duplicate? Yeah, I know this is an issue that probably a lot of you have. Just because it's easier for myself, I would ask you to handle the duplication issue first and then transfer ownership, because considering the sheer amount of listings that we'd have to manage, I would probably only get to it like next year or something like that, if you have to look into all of them. I believe Fernando has already published some help about how to troubleshoot those. I will republish it on Astra just so you can look into it. I think, yeah, and then we'll handle it from there. You also have to involve Google Help, I'm afraid. But we have the same issue of waiting for a response, but I hope that we'll be able to handle it. So actually I've asked this as a question also, but I need ownership to remove duplicates. So in instances where you have, and I think, I've heard it from almost every region actually as a problem, keep ownership of your listings until you've resolved all duplication issues, and once you have gotten everything in order, please transfer ownership then. It's probably the easiest way forward. What about store code? Should we leave store code on locations, or will you take care of it after we transfer it? So for the store code, we are using the property ID. If you have it in there already, please add it. And I think it should be quite easy for you to do. But yeah, store code is our property ID and it should be filled out as a field. If not, we'll add it later. Thank you. Next questions. This might be obsolete now as a question actually. What if you've already claimed your properties in your area with a personal account? And why should you sign ownership? Why should you sign ownership over to us? So one, if you have claimed it under a really personal account that is attached to you, the minimum you have to do is to transfer ownership to an address that is a bit more general. It can be owned by the region or by your field marketing team or your hub, but it cannot be owned by yourself because there is a very high risk of losing it. Since you're transferring ownership anyway, the best thing would be to transfer ownership to SEO@starwoodhotels.com, and we will then add you as a manager, or you will remain to be a manager, but please provide us still with a kind of more generic address that we can then add as a manager. It should really be a team that has access to the account and not just a single person. It's different if the Gmail address has a personal name but is being used by a team. In that instance, we can talk about it. It's a practicality, but really the main criteria is that this is an email address that can be accessed by everybody and is not attached to a person and would leave if the person leaves. Hello, Katrina. How can I know if the listing is already claimed for my properties or not? And sorry if that's a stupid question. Not at all a stupid question. I know that it's quite difficult to verify listings. So the way that I would do it is if you search for your venue or for your property, for example on Google Maps, I think on the left-hand side there's a window where it says, are you, or even on business listings, but Google asks you, are you the owner of this listing? And then you can click yes or no, and then request ownership. If you want to request ownership, then you are being directed to a new page where you then can send an email to the owner if you say that you don't know them. So that's one way of quickly finding out whether you're the owner or not. The other way that I found out whether we own this or not is when you do a bulk upload, you see a list of all the properties and then of all the listings, and then it tells you whether you can own this or whether there's a different owner. So in the back end of your Google My Business account, you also see whether you're owner of a listing or not when you try to add it. So it's kind of a trial and error kind of way of finding out that, but there's no kind of quick way to know whether a listing is already claimed or not. Hello, Liz. On a side note, we've been in touch with Christopher before for SQ claims. Apologies off topic. As you know, we need for Instagram geotagging, but there's a fee of $25 US. Will there be a new process for this? That's a very great question because it's not for me. You can hand it over to Doriana, please. She can help you with social media, or you can still contact Fernando because he's now the global contact person for social media. So either of the two, but luckily not for me. Thank you. By the way, Doriana does not want to be in the picture anymore. That's why I've had to turn the screen. Am I taking care of hotels only or restaurant and bar listings also? Great question. In the future, we'll take care. We would like to also handle restaurant and bar listings. If you have claimed them already, that's great. It's something on my to-do list that we look into those as well. But first, this year, we really want to sort out the hotel listings, and then we'll focus on the restaurants and bars also. But if you're doing something in that space already, that's great. And please feel free to continue managing it yourself for now. Thank you. A very basic question from the beginning: what happened to Google Plus and brand pages? As you know, all of this has now been merged into the Google Business. So you have your one login, central account kind of solution to manage all the different Google products. Which makes it easy to keep using Google Plus because they really want you to do it. And then, yes, most of you probably know that's around the how do I claim a business listing on Google and how does the verification work. So if you only have one account, if you only want to claim one listing, you have to do it kind of the difficult way, the more complicated route. You can claim the listing. When you go onto the listing, it asks you, are you the owner of this business? You can then say yes and claim ownership of it. And then you have to do a kind of offline verification. You either have to put in a phone number where you then receive a PIN that you have to enter. And the phone number has to go to you directly. It can't be a switch call center or anything. It has to be you, and that's already a difficulty because if they call the front desk, they wouldn't know what happened. So you really have to be at the property. The other method is to be sent a postcard with the PIN, which is also quite difficult and lengthy because obviously it takes a while for this to arrive in the post. But those are the two ways of buying a listing. And then the faster route to claim a listing is when you have more than 10, you can do a bulk upload, which we can do, and most of you probably also. So if you do that, we normally can upload most of them, but there may be ownership conflicts or whatever. And in this instance, we still have to go down this kind of offline route, in which case I would reach out to you and ask to help me verify the businesses. And then the third instance is if somebody else has claimed the business already, you would then be contacted via email. I may use the easier route and contact you through Google, so you would receive a local listing help at Google, whatever, something like that email. And it would tell you that someone else has tried to claim ownership for this listing. If you see the SEO at starwardhotels.com email in this claim, then you know it's come from us. So please respond to it accordingly. I may do it this way because it's just easier rather than having to email everybody individually. I might do it through the account. It could also be that I will just email you directly. But hopefully neither is necessary because you will have transferred ownership anyway. Thank you. And then here's a note from Claudia to Liz. Instagram is not linked for SQ, and you use Instagram locations through Facebook Pages. Thank you for clearing that up, Claudia. I wouldn't have known it actually. Thank you. And then we have a question from the marketing team. I do not understand, should we transfer the ownership to the specific address SEO@starwardhotels.com? Or can we see with our DFM which email address to use as ownership? Yes, in this instance, please contact your DFM team and check with them. They may have already, own it. In which instance you can transfer ownership to them, and then they will take care of SEO@starwardhotels.com. If you are the owner of your listing, please directly transfer. Well, I would prefer if you transfer it to the central account, but check with your DFM team first what they prefer. Thank you. And Ulis, thanks, Claudia, also. Thank you very much for clearing it up. Right, we have already used up our half hour. It's been a very active call today. Thank you very much for your questions. If you have any more questions, I will just keep talking for another minute, which gives you time to talk. Hello. Okay, so you have another minute while I'm answering this question to send any last minute questions in. If you decided to create a page for restaurants, they're not created and not verified yet. Should I create them or leave it for the brand team as verification period is quite long? If there is no listing or if no ownership has been claimed for a listing yet, you can create a Google listing for your restaurant and bars yourself, verify them as you wish, and keep and manage the account for until next year. Realistically, we are not going to do anything around Google My Business and restaurant and bar venues until beginning of next year, maybe even Q2. So until then, it makes most sense if you manage the listing yourself. Having Google My Business is a great way of for a restaurant or bar is really great, I think, and you don't even need to have your own website for this venue in order to have Google My Business. So it's a great way of kind of showing up in Google, and as we know, it does really rank high, and it's you show the telephone number right away and things like that. So it's a great way, and I would recommend you to create those. It's just that we currently don't have, it's not a focus just yet. So please create your own pages, and we will look into it next year. That's all right. Thank you. Any last questions? Now is the time to ask them. Meantime, I would also ask you, as this is a side topic, but you know we have the Blitz coming up in, is it 10 days, something like that, 2 weeks roughly. There are 2 people from each region, you know who you are, come here to help us. to launch 400 websites in total, well, 400 sites, yes, which is 150 independent restaurant sites, as well as the 250 homepages of our local property sites, which is a massive undertaking. And thanks very much to the Blitz team. When we do this, they will be here on site and will be working really hard. But already you can meet the team who's helping us. We have an Instagram page, Instagram account, I'm sorry, and we'll also have a page on Astra, is what I wanted to say, very soon, where you can find out more details about it. Yes, the Instagram account is, I think, Emi Blitz Starwood or something like that. I will post it on Astra later. It would be great if you follow us and you can meet the team and stay up to date with what we're up to. Right. There have not been any more questions. So I will finish today's hangout. As I mentioned, because there are quite a lot of things to do around my business, this first call was more about the general setup and management and ownership of Google My Business. And then the next call, hopefully when we have sorted out the ownership question and have claimed all the businesses, we will talk about how to optimize them in terms of uploading images, responding to reviews. So there will be a second hangout around Google My Business next month, and you will receive details and invitation for that nearer the time. Thank you very much for your time and have a good day. Thank you.